Spider-Man sure is a goof, isn't he? I mean, that's kind of the whole appeal of the character. Given his setup of superpowers not making his life any better, combined with his comedic persona, it's no wonder that there are some moments where Peter falls flat on his face. And it's nothing short of hilarious. With this in mind, I'm Dan from What Culture, and here are the 8 most embarrassing Spider-Man moments. Number 8. The Spider-Mobile. Amazing Spider-Man number 130. When Marvel Editorial signed a toy deal for a Spider-Man themed vehicle, the writer at the time, Jerry Conway, was all but forced at gunpoint to find a way to incorporate it into the comic itself. Thus, the Spider-Mobile was born. This thing had to be one of the most infamously goofy parts of the Conway era. Looking back, the funny thing about this book is how so much of it is about how this is an obviously terrible idea that was doomed to fail. I mean, why would Spider-Man need a car? Just imagine this. Quick, Spidey, Hammerhead has 10 hostages at gunpoint and is going to start executing them, so please help us. Oh, but you're stuck in traffic again? Well, I guess we'll just die. It's so absurd, yet so hilarious at the same time. The Spider-Mobile would quickly exit the story, as Conway had basically nothing but absolute contempt for the idea. And frankly, who could blame him? Number 7. Trying to beat up Superman. Superman meets the Amazing Spider-Man. Back when Marvel and DC's rivalry was friendlier, they decided to make a big crossover between their most iconic characters. And who wouldn't want to see the Amazing Spider-Man interact with Superman? So, with the stars aligning like this, it was only natural that DC and Marvel jumped on it. And it doesn't take long for Spider-Man and Superman to come to blows. The resulting fight is one of the best hero versus hero fights out there, as Spidey is powered by red sun radiation, courtesy of Lex Luthor, which gives him that extra edge in combat. But, as Spidey learns, when that radiation goes away, he's little more than a nuisance to Superman. As short a moment as it is, the image of Spidey just wailing uselessly at Superman's indestructible six-pack is just plain hilarious. Number 6. Getting stuck in the outer boroughs. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 14. As Spider-Man Homecoming so aptly demonstrated, Peter is hilariously useless the second you take him out of New York City. And that joke originated in an issue of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, where, whilst trying to catch up with the villain of the week, Spidey finds himself stuck in the suburbs of the outer boroughs. With nothing taller than a streetlight to swing from, Spider-Man has to resort to booking it as fast as humanly possible. No tall buildings means no web swinging. And no web swinging means that he's just a weirdo in a red and blue onesie running through the suburb in the middle of the night. Spider-Man would of course manage to just barely catch up to the villain that put him in this predicament, but I imagine he's also very thankful that everyone was asleep for this moment. Number 5. The Bombastic Bagman. Amazing Spider-Man number 258. It really does help to have friends when you're in a tight spot, but Spidey should really know better than to ask Johnny Storm for help with anything. Long story short, Spidey lost his clothes and had to get home without people seeing that Spider-Man is A, the newspaper photographer Peter Parker, and B, buck-ass naked. So, in a lapse of logic so great, all sympathy for Peter goes out the window. He turned to his buddy, Johnny Storm, who offered him one of the Fantastic Four's suits and a paper bag with some holes in it to hide his face. So, Spidey had to swing all the way home looking like that, most likely confusing the hell out of a lot of people before he got home. Number 4. Making WEB-UNDIES. Amazing Spider-Man number 2. One of the most controversial parts of Dan Slott's tenure as the head writer of Spider-Man was the Superior Spider-Man, where Spidey's body has his longtime nemesis, Otto Octavius, in the driver's seat. Otto, however, uses this opportunity to improve upon Spider-Man's mission as a hero. As divisive as it was, it actually turned out to be one of the best things Slott ever did with his run on Spider-Man. However, of course, the status quo beckons, and Peter eventually retook control of his body. And just to go the extra mile, and to prove that it actually was Peter Parker back in control, he's back in the saddle for not even 5 minutes before he gets all of his clothes zapped off, and has to web himself up some underwear, failing to realise until it was far too late that Otto had improved his web formula to make it dissolve significantly slower than normal. So when he goes to reunite with the Avengers and explain his weird behaviour the past few months, he goes there wearing the pants he had on as Peter because his WEB-UNDIES have stuck them to his body. And to top it all off, he really has to pee. Number 3. Made Black Cat puke. Ultimate Spider-Man number 85. Since Peter was a teenager for longer in the Ultimate Universe than he was in the 616 continuity, we get to see him trip up a whole lot more. One of which is simultaneously one of the funniest and grossest moments in the comic. While Peter is a teenager for the entire run, Black Cat is a grown woman. At first, their relationship is about the same as it is in the main universe, but in issue 85, Black Cat is made aware of the elephant she wasn't aware that was in the room. She offers a kiss, and for the first time, Peter takes off his mask in front of her. Then, Black Cat realizes this whole time that she's been flirting with a teenager and promptly pukes up her last 3 to 4 meals onto the floor, while Peter watches on awkwardly. And while it isn't just Peter to blame for this, Black Cat has to hold some responsibility here. Cause sure, Peter's suit doesn't give any obvious indicators of age, but one would think that his voice would really give away that he's currently going through puberty. And really, no one walks away from this situation looking good. Number 2. Spiderfail.com. Web of Spider-Man number 8. With how often Spidey screws up on a regular basis, it was inevitable that the internet would do what the internet does. J. Jonah Jameson has dedicated his entire career to tearing down the wall crawler, always trying to find the perfect proof that shows Spidey is a menace to society at large. It's an obsession that's sometimes justified and sometimes just played for laughs, but whichever interpretation of Jameson is your favourite, this scene would likely please all of them. Jameson has shown a new site on the internet called Spiderfail.com, which is exactly what it says on the tin. An online greatest hits album of Spider-Man's best goofs. From being terrorised by an old woman and her cat to slamming face first into buildings mid-web swing. It's got it all, and Jameson, naturally, reacts to this like a kid on Christmas. After all, this is literally everything he's ever wanted. Seeing as how this site is literally dedicated to how much of a goober Spider-Man is, the fact that it's probably still around to this day means that this moment was pretty much destined to be here on this list. And number 1, he outed himself to the X-Men. Ultimate Spider-Man number 44. Ultimate Peter Parker is probably the biggest screw-up Spider-Man in the multiverse, and besides making Black Cat violently question her life choices, he also accidentally gave away his secret identity to quite a few people, namely the X-Men. Now, the X-Men are pretty nice. Well, as nice as anyone can be in the Ultimate Universe. So it isn't like Peter was in any danger, but he still likes to keep his secrets close to the chest. So when he wakes up in the X-Men's infirmary, completely naked and exposed, he laments the fact that now an entire mansion's worth of people know that Spider-Man is actually Peter Parker, only to then be told that they didn't know his name, just his forgettable bland face that would have likely faded from memory as soon as the mask went back on. So, Peter essentially outed himself to the entire X-Men for no reason. Brilliant. And that's our list. You can find more videos like this on screen now. For now though, I've been Dan, and I'll catch you in the next one.